Scorpio Sky, Christopher Daniels, Frankie Zay, collectively known as SoCal Uncensored or SCU.
This is Catch, Hook, and Shoot, the worst podcast I've ever been on. Word.
Everybody, welcome to Catch, Hook, and Shoot. Today is Sunday, March the 8th. It is the day of WWE's Elimination Chamber PPV. I want to thank everybody for listening, watching, and subscribing on YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you also for following on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and LinkedIn. It's at Catch, Hook, Shoot. Head over to patreon.com/catchhookshoot for all your bonus content and prowrestlingtees.com/catchhookshoot for all your t-shirt needs. And if you ever want to shoot me an email, it's catchhookshoot@gmail.com. So let's kick things off this week, as we always do, with our match of the week. So this week, I don't think there's much debate about the match of the week. Well, I suppose there could be, because there was a couple of good matches on NXT, but we'll get into those in a little bit. But the clear-cut winner for me this week for match of the week is the main event of AEW Dynamite, which was originally supposed to be a tag team match with Darby Allin teaming with the new AEW champion Jon Moxley, taking on Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. Well, yeah, Jon Moxley got taken out by the Inner Circle before the match started, so it ended up being a handicap match with Darby Allin versus Jericho and Guevara, and the match was fantastic. AEW is really showcasing Darby Allin very, very well. I have no doubt they are positioning him to be a top guy in the company sooner rather than later. I fully expect to see Darby Allin as the AEW World Champion. I'm going to go out on a limb and say within the next year to 2 years, barring anything drastic happening, like, serious injury or things like that. But, Darby Allin really being put in a great spot in AEW. They obviously have, the powers that be at AEW obviously have a lot of confidence in him. And, like I said, putting him in a great spot to be a top guy in that company. So, good on him. I mean, I have become a huge fan of Darby Allin since the since the inception of AEW. I mean, I knew of him before that. I had heard of him, but hadn't seen a whole lot of his work. Now, getting to see him on TV, not every week, but fairly frequently, I have become a huge fan of Darby Allin. So really go out of your way to check out this match, Darby Allin versus Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara from this past Wednesday's AEW Dynamite. Before we get to the next segment, I'm sure you guys probably noticed there's no video feed this week. Basically, I'm recording the show a little bit late, and I wanted to make sure it got out before the pay-per-view tonight, and so I'm just doing audio and just to get the show out as quickly as possible, and also having some technical issues with my camera today, so figured rather than messing with that, I would just get the audio out to get the show out before the WWE pay-per-view tonight. So let's keep it rolling right along here into our next segment, which is the top 3 highlights, in my opinion, from this past week, and I am talking about the 3 count. So number 1 this week on the 3 count from Monday Night Raw, the confrontation we saw with Drew McIntyre and Brock Lesnar. Don't think it was quite what people expected. We saw Brock Lesnar basically get laid out by Drew McIntyre, took a Claymore kick in the ring, and took 2 more on the stage on his way to the back. And, McIntyre being made to look very strong. I mean, all signs are pointing to McIntyre having Lesnar's number and hopefully defeating him at WrestleMania for the WWE Championship. Now, obviously, plans can always change, especially with Vince McMahon. But I think we are going to see Drew McIntyre with the WWE World Championship after WrestleMania. Number 2 on the 3 count, we saw a huge surprise debut on AEW Dynamite from one of the greatest legends in the history of the business, and I am talking about Jake the Snake Roberts. Cody was in the ring talking about his defeat to MJF at the pay-per-view Revolution, and the music hits, and out comes Jake the Snake, and it got a huge pop out of me. Jake is one of my all-time favorites. He is in my all-time top 5 as far as favorites go, and it was an awesome moment seeing him on TV. He can still to this day cut the greatest promo. As far as mic skills and promos go, I put Jake the Snake in the top 2 all time, the other one being Ric Flair. So, that's my 2 best promo guys ever in the business. And, came out, cut a great promo on Cody, and talking about his client that he's bringing into AEW, to take what he called Cody's piece of the AEW pie. And a lot of speculation on who this client could be, but a majority of it pretty much in sync with what my first thought was, which his client is probably going to be Brody Lee, formerly known as Luke Harper in the WWE. I think that'd be a great pairing, because Harper didn't get a lot of chances to talk in WWE, or I should say Brody Lee didn't get a lot of chances to talk in WWE. So we really don't know what his mic skills are for the most part, but putting him with Jake as his manager / mouthpiece, whatever you want to call it, it seems like a great pairing to me. They seem like they would complement each other very, very well. So I'm hoping that Jake the Snake's client is Brody Lee, as so many people are speculating about, because it would just be, I think it'd be great. And hopefully we'll be finding out, I believe it's next week they're in Rochester, New York, which is Brody Lee's hometown, so everybody is speculating that's where he's going to make his debut. So, hopefully we'll be finding out soon who Jake the Snake's client is. It's going to be coming after Cody Rhodes. Cody seems to have enemies all over the place in AEW, but, not a surprise. Cody really is the face of the company, and so he is kind of in that dusty role that his father had back in the day, kind of the top baby face that everybody's gunning for. So I'm interested to see how Jake the Snake and his client are gonna play into this, and also be interesting to see if it has anything to do with MJF. Of course, Cody's quote unquote arch nemesis. So hopefully next few weeks we'll be seeing how all this is gonna play out. And number 3 on the 3 count, we saw an appearance on Matt Hardy's YouTube show, Free the Delete, from the Bucks of Youth. Yes, the Young Bucks. Matt and Nick Jackson showed up at the Hardy compound. Now, if you guys follow the YouTube channels of the Young Bucks and of Matt Hardy, if you watched Being the Elite earlier in the week, you saw it ended with Matt Jackson getting a phone call from a North Carolina area code, and apparently the person on the phone was saying, that they needed the Young Bucks to come to wherever they were at. So basically ended with the Bucks saying, well, we're not going home. We got to go someplace else first. And then cut to Free the Delete. A couple days later, it starts with Matt Hardy on the phone saying that he needs the help of whoever he's talking to get Zenith, the entity that's inhabiting his body that causes him to be broken and things like that. Needs this person's help to get Zenith out of his body, because they're the only ones that have been able to help him do it before. And at the end of the episode, we see an SUV pull up in the front of the Hardy compound, the doors open, and Matt and Nick Jackson step out and just say, "What's up, Matt?" And left as a little bit of a cliffhanger there. And so I believe it's this week coming up is part 2 of that episode, which is the finale of the Free the Delete show. So definitely, I'll be definitely checking that out. And as far as Matt Hardy's future is concerned, he did give an interview recently, I believe it was just a couple of days ago, that he's been in negotiations with not just AEW but also Impact, the NWA. So he is in demand by pretty much everybody right now. There was even talk of him possibly taking the broken gimmick to NXT at one point, but I guess that obviously didn't happen. But he said, it'll be within the next 30 days that he'll be making that decision. He said it could be as soon as the next week. So I'm definitely pushing for him to go to AEW. Obviously, he's got a great relationship with the Young Bucks. There's a lot of chemistry between the Bucks and the Hardy Boys, and I think AEW would give him the freedom to do pretty much what he wants to do creatively, and especially putting him in the mix with the Dark Order, possibly making him the Exalted One. That would be an excellent role for Matt Hardy. So I think AEW honestly would be the best place for him. That's just my opinion as a fan. Matt's going to do what's best for him and his family, and rightly so. I mean, if the NWA backs a truckload of money up to his front door, yeah, take it. So. Yeah, that's my take on it. I mean, I'd love to see him in AEW, but obviously, like I said, he's going to do what's best for him and his family. So, moving into the news and rumors for the week on WWE Raw, we saw a kind of unusual occurrence. Riddick Moss, the 24/7 champion, got a clean victory over Ricochet. And this left a lot of people scratching their heads. Is Ricochet being buried? Is Vince McMahon tired of Ricochet? And who knows? I mean, Vince McMahon, by all accounts, is very, very fickle. So maybe he has gotten tired of Ricochet. Maybe he's gotten bored with him, kind of the way he did with Cedric Alexander. So who knows? But hopefully that's not the case. But Ricochet's still a very young guy. He's got a long career ahead of him. So nobody's saying he can't get another push again at some later point in time. But to see where he was, getting a world championship match, but then getting squashed in that match and then losing on Raw to Riddick Moss, a relative newcomer to Raw. I mean, he's been in NXT for a while, but a newcomer to Raw, it's just very odd. So I suppose that's a situation to watch, is what's going to happen with Ricochet. Also, we finally got to see what's in the cage that Eric Rowan's been carrying around, and it was built up so much, it was bound to be a letdown. There was nothing that could have been in that cage that would have lived up to all the hype that's been surrounding it. And what was in the cage was a giant toy tarantula. So kind of an anticlimactic reveal there, but who knows? Maybe that was just like a decoy. Maybe the real pet is still in there. Who knows where they're going with this one? But yeah, as it stands right now, Eric Rowan's pet was a giant toy tarantula. So do with that what you will. But the big story coming out of Raw, we saw an appearance from Beth Phoenix, who was there to give a medical update on Edge. And to nobody's surprise, Randy Orton came out while she was in the ring, and had some some words back and forth, to say the least. And Orton, long story short, Orton ended up RKOing Beth Phoenix, which, again, I don't think anybody was surprised at that one. So, and then afterwards, we saw basically all of Edge's buddies come from the locker room to check on Beth. And that's going to bring about the return of Edge to Raw this coming Monday, tomorrow night. And I'm sure this is all leading to Randy Orton versus Edge match at WrestleMania, which I don't think anybody's going to complain about. You're talking about two of the greatest of all time, two guys that have amazing chemistry in the ring, both as opponents and as tag team partners. And, these are guys that can go out there and put on a fantastic match, and especially with each other. They could do it with their eyes closed and their hands tied behind their back. That's how well these two work together, and just how good they both are. So that hopefully that match will be getting announced soon, because that one definitely has the potential to steal the show at WrestleMania. Moving into NXT, we saw Chelsea Green qualify for the women's ladder match coming up at TakeOver. That's going to determine the next number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship. She got the victory over Shotzi Blackheart. And we had two awesome cage matches on NXT this week. Dakota Kai versus Tegan Nox at the beginning of the show, and Velveteen Dream versus Roderick Strong at the end of the show. And both of those matches were contenders for match of the week for me. And like I said, I had to pick one, and I had to go with Darby Allin, just because I thought, I really like what AEW is doing with Darby, so that's why that match took match of the week. But definitely, go back and check out NXT from this past week. Those two cage matches, Dakota Kai getting the victory against Tegan Nox with help from Raquel Gonzalez, to nobody's surprise there, and Velveteen Dream actually lost to Roderick Strong, but the way that it all went down was rather interesting. Of course, Undisputed Era came down to help Roderick Strong, and Adam Cole actually made his way into the cage, and Roderick Strong was going to try to make his escape through the door. Velveteen had stopped him, but then he stopped, looked over his shoulder at Cole, who was down in the corner, and threw Roderick Strong out of the cage, basically giving up the victory in the match, and locked the door, locked himself in there with Adam Cole. So it looks like this is going to lead up to a Velveteen Dream versus Adam Cole match for the NXT Championship, probably at NXT TakeOver Tampa. So, was this all a ploy by Velveteen Dream to get Adam Cole into a championship match? Is that why he started going after Roderick Strong and his family and things like that? Who knows? I mean, that'd be a cool story if that's what they what they go with. So have to wait and see. But Velveteen Dream versus Adam Cole, definitely a main event level match if they decide to put that one on TakeOver. So we'll have to wait and see when that one gets announced. Some miscellaneous WWE stuff that it was very, very surprising. We actually saw this past week The Undertaker making quite the statement on social media, and that was all in regards to the fact that his wife, Michelle McCool, was basically snubbed in an article on WWE.com for International Women's Month. Kind of just a little retrospective of past women's champions, divas champions, things like that, and Michelle McCool was left out of that list, which kind of a surprise, not just because she's The Undertaker's wife, but she was the very first divas champion. You'd think that would be significant enough to for at least a mention in that kind of article. But she was left out, and she said something on social media. WWE went back and made some revisions to that article, added her and some other people into it. The Undertaker didn't seem too happy that it took somebody outing them or on social media, or putting them on blast on social media, for them to realize they made a mistake. And Taker commented on the tweet from WWE when they announced the changes that they had made. Said basically, too little, too late, unbelievable is what he said. And it's surprising because you don't see Undertaker very active on social media at all. Most of the pictures you see of Undertaker on social media come from Michelle McCool. So that's got to be worrisome to some in WWE. I would think of all of the talent that's currently under contract, the Undertaker is probably the number one guy you don't want to piss off if you're in WWE management. So have to see if this has any kind of effect on I'm just speculating here, if it's going to have any kind of effect on him appearing at WrestleMania. I mean, supposedly he's supposed to be wrestling AJ Styles, but Undertaker's one he can pretty much call his own shots. So, he obviously has it at his discretion to say, you know what, screw you, I ain't doing it this year. But I don't see that happening, quite honestly. I mean, I'm throwing it out there as a possibility. I don't think that will happen. I'm sure this will, be resolved one way or another. Undertaker and Vince McMahon, by all accounts, have a great working relationship. And, above all else, The Undertaker is a professional. So if he's booked for WrestleMania, he's going to be at WrestleMania. He's not just going to, turn his back and walk away like that. But, just an interesting, series of events happening on social media this past week with The Undertaker. So moving into some AEW news, got a new faction in AEW known as the Death Triangle, and that is consists of Pac and the Lucha Brothers. Interesting group. I didn't. I that's not a grouping that I would have picked off the top of my head, but I like it. I think they complement each other pretty well, and so I'm curious to see where it goes. Who are they gonna, who's gonna be their main opponents and things like that? What kind of stories are they gonna be involved in? Because the Lucha Brothers, we haven't seen a whole lot of the last couple of months on Dynamite, and obviously, I'm sure they have other obligations with AAA in Mexico and things like that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this new faction is going to be all about. We did not see an appearance from Lance Archer this week, but in fairness, if you go back and watch the previous week's show, when they talk about Lance Archer signing with AEW, they did not specifically say he would be appearing. They said we would have more on this development next week or whatever. They didn't specifically say Lance Archer would be there, so AEW didn't lie to anybody. I think people just made the assumption when they brought it up online, and then they said something about next week. They just said, oh, he's going to be there next week, and that wasn't the case. And by all accounts, AEW is going to be spreading out debuts of new stars like Lance Archer, Matt Hardy, Brody Lee. It's not all going to happen at one time. It's going to happen over the course of several weeks, which I think is smart. Keep people tuning in, because you never know when somebody's going to pop up, when somebody's going to jump out of the crowd, or who knows, however these guys are going to debut. Some other interesting stuff from AEW. The Dark Order continues to put messages out on social media hinting about Matt Hardy possibly being the Exalted One, or that's at least what people are presuming from the posts that are being put out there. They actually put out one yesterday where the first letter of each word spelled out Matt Hardy, or the first letter of each sentence, I should say, of each line of the post. So yeah, they're continuing to feed the speculation that Matt Hardy is going to be the Exalted One, and I hope he is. I really do. Another thing that I've noticed, I don't know if anybody else has, the phrase "no one is safe" is being used a lot in AEW by the various factions. We've heard it from the Inner Circle, we've heard it from the Dark Order. It was part of that post they put out yesterday, and we heard it from the Death Triangle on Monday when they kind of announced their formation. So it's just something I noticed. I don't know what the significance behind it is, if anything, but it are all these heel factions at some point going to be working together? Is that why they're all kind of using the same verbiage of "no one is safe," or is it just a coincidence? Who knows? But interesting stuff going on in AEW. Coming up this week on Dynamite, Hangman Page with a mystery partner is going to be taking on Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. The reason for the mystery partner, apparently Kenny Omega is not medically cleared and won't be for another week or two because of I believe it was a hand injury. So yeah, Page is going to have a mystery partner, and of course, speculation running rampant, like it always does. My pick for this, I think this would be a good place to debut Lance Archer, depending on how he's going to be used. Is he going to be a face? Is he going to be a heel? Is he going to be somewhere in between? Who knows? But I think Archer and Hangman Page as a tag team would be pretty damn good, and to see the two of them against Jericho and Guevara, I would definitely pay to see that one. So, but we'll have to wait till Wednesday to find out who Hangman Page's mystery partner is going to be. Also, AEW's got a special edition of Dynamite coming up on March the 25th that they're calling Blood and Guts. Nice little jab at Vince McMahon there. But they announced today, as a matter of fact, one of the matches for that show is going to be the Inner Circle, the entire group taking on the Elite. So it'll be Jericho, Santana, Ortiz, Guevara, and Jake Hager taking on Cody, Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, and the Young Bucks. So that should be a very interesting match. Could this be where we see Hangman Page finally make that full-on heel turn and attack other members of the Elite? Who knows? Like I said, March the 25th, so I'll definitely be tuning in to check that one out. Some Ring of Honor news. Rush, once again, is your Ring of Honor World Champion. Regained that championship from PCO with a little help from Nick Aldis. So... And now PCO actually has an opportunity at the NWA World Championship against Nick Aldis at the next Ring of Honor pay-per-view. So should be there's some interesting stuff going on with the NWA and Ring of Honor. So I think they're Ring of Honor is really trying to get things moving back in the right direction after some pretty big missteps the last few months. So hopefully they're able to right the ship, so to speak, because Ring of Honor really one of the best wrestling products out there. So hopefully they're able to get things moving in the right direction. So getting into the last little bit of news for this week, like I said earlier in the show, today is the day of the WWE Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, and let's run down some of the matches that are happening tonight. First up, kind of an unusual match, not one I would expect to see on pay-per-view, but Daniel Bryan taking on Drew Gulak. Now, they've been going back and forth on SmackDown for a couple of weeks. Gulak's kind of been sending other people after Daniel Bryan using his little... sorry about that, I bumped my microphone. Gulak's been using, I guess you would say, his friends or minions, I don't know what you would call them, but this past week it was Curtis Axel, but to kind of go after Daniel Bryan, and so tonight on the pay-per-view we're going to finally see Daniel Bryan versus Drew Gulak, and I guess the way this all kind of came about is Daniel Bryan is one who, rightfully so, gets some measure of creative freedom with his character and with his storylines, and he's been using that creative freedom to give opportunities to people that he thinks deserve them, like Drew Gulak, like Heath Slater, like Curtis Axel, who hadn't seen him on TV in months, and he's back on SmackDown. So I think I think it's good that he's using his kind of clout or stroke, whatever you want to call it, to give some opportunities to some guys who don't get a whole lot of TV time anymore. So, and it should be, by all accounts, a fantastic match. I mean, Drew Gulak, phenomenal in the ring. Daniel Bryan, probably the best in-ring performer WWE has right now. So I'm looking forward to that one, actually, that's surprisingly enough. Then we've got a U.S. title match for, U.S. title match. Andrade defending against Humberto Carrillo. This one's been going for a little while here between Andrade, Humberto Carrillo, Rey Mysterio, Angel Garza. You've had quite the rivalry going on with those four guys. So, and tonight Humberto finally gets his opportunity at the U.S. title. I don't know if they're going to put a title on Humberto just yet, though. My opinion, I think they're going to leave it on Andrade until WrestleMania. Then we may see him drop it to somebody, but hey, I've been wrong before. Who knows? But my pick is Andrade to retain. We're also going to see Aleister Black taking on AJ Styles in a no disqualification match, and this stemming from this past week on Raw. Aleister Black's supposed to have a match against AJ, and then AJ basically said, well, no, first you have to wrestle Carl Anderson. So Aleister defeated Carl Anderson, and then he said, well, now you got to wrestle Luke Gallows. So he defeated Luke Gallows, and by the time AJ got in the ring for what was Aleister's third match, it was kind of easy picking. So AJ able to defeat Aleister, which I believe was his first defeat on Raw in a singles match. So pretty significant there. But I'm gonna no DQ match. I'm gonna pick Aleister Black on this one. Could we see an appearance from The Undertaker, kind of costing AJ the match? Maybe, who knows? But they're definitely gonna continue to build AJ versus Undertaker, I would assume. So don't be surprised if The Undertaker does make an appearance in one form or another, even if it's just the the music hitting and distracting AJ for Aleister to pick up the victory. Also, this past week on Raw, we saw the or not this past week on Raw, God. Anyway, also on the Elimination Chamber, we've got the rematch for the Raw Tag Team titles. The Street Profits defending against Seth Rollins and Murphy. I still don't really understand why it's Rollins and Murphy and not the AOP, but it is what it is. Four legitimately good wrestlers going to get in the ring and go at it. So it should be a great match. I'm looking for the Street Profits to retain, because I think we're going to see a singles match for Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, more than likely against Kevin Owens. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Owens made his presence felt during this match tonight as well. Then we've got Braun Strowman defending the Intercontinental Championship against three guys in a 3-on-1 handicap match. Strowman defending against Nakamura, Cesaro, and Sami Zayn. I think it's gonna be a good match. Don't get me wrong. I love Shinsuke Nakamura. He's one of my favorite wrestlers right now. Cesaro, is unquestionably one of the best in-ring performers WWE has, and Sami Zayn is Sami Zayn. He's just damn good. But I don't know. I don't know if I like this particular match because I think it's obvious Strowman's probably going to retain. That's my pick for this one, and I wish they would give something with a little more substance to it as far as storylines go to Nakamura and Cesaro, and not even necessarily as a team, but let them get them into a good storyline. I mean, using Sami Zayn as their mouthpiece, I think, is good. I don't think Cesaro's bad on the microphone, but some people obviously do. And Nakamura, same thing. I actually think Nakamura cuts a pretty good promo himself, but again, other people don't think so, and so I think having Sami Zayn as their mouthpiece is definitely a good thing. I'm just not a fan of this whole storyline because I think it makes Nakamura and Cesaro kind of look a little bit weak, and that's my opinion. If you don't agree with me, that's fine, but I'm picking Strowman to retain in this one. Then we've got 2 Elimination Chamber matches, and the first one is for the number 1 contender for the Raw Women's Championship to get the title match at WrestleMania, and that one is Natalya versus Liv Morgan versus Shayna Baszler versus Asuka versus Ruby Riott versus Sarah Logan. So you've got the whole former Riott Squad in there as 3 of the 6 women in the Elimination Chamber. Then Asuka, Shayna, and Natalya. Now I think this match is going to serve a couple of purposes. Number one, I think it's really not a foregone conclusion because by some accounts, Vince McMahon not super impressed with Shayna Baszler to this point, which it baffles me as to why. But I think most people are expecting Shayna Baszler to win because that's the match that's been speculated for WrestleMania for quite some time, is Shayna versus Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's title. I think you're going to see a lot of fighting between the former members of the Riott Squad. That could possibly lead to a triple threat match at WrestleMania between Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott, and Sarah Logan. I love that Sarah Logan's getting some more TV time because of the Riott Squad angle that's going on. I like that Liv Morgan is now in an angle with a little bit more substance than just the whole Lana Lashley thing. So I'm liking the whole thing that's going on with the former Riott Squad. And I think another purpose this is going to serve is to further the issues between Natalya and Asuka. Another WrestleMania match that's being speculated is for the Raw Women's or the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. The Kabuki Warriors possibly against the Divas of Doom, which is Natalya and Beth Phoenix, as well as I just read it could possibly be a triple threat match with Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross in it as well. So this chamber match could serve a number of purposes leading into WrestleMania, but my pick to win is Shayna Baszler for this one. And then the men's Elimination Chamber match is actually a tag team match for the SmackDown tag team titles. The Miz and John Morrison defending against the New Day, the Usos, Heavy Machinery, Lucha House Party. That just seems kind of random because you never see them on television anymore. And Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. And Ziggler and Roode, of course, won a tag team gauntlet match on SmackDown this past week to enter the chamber last. And the last team they defeated in that gauntlet match was Heavy Machinery. That's a pretty significant, pretty big rivalry that's going on. But it's really not even Ziggler and Roode versus Heavy Machinery. It's really Ziggler and Otis fighting over Mandy Rose. So, but it's interesting. It's something that is keeping my attention because Otis has turned into gotta be the most sympathetic babyface in WWE right now, just because of the whole kind of love triangle or whatever you want to call it with Mandy Rose. And it sounds like there's a Harley going past my house right now. But anyway, so in this one, as far as a winner, I'm gonna say Miz and Morrison possibly to retain. If not, really anybody anybody except Lucha House Party would be, I think would be not completely unexpected. But that's about as much as I can narrow that one down. It's not going to be Lucha House Party that wins the men's tag team Elimination Chamber match. But other than that, you know what? I'm just going to say Miz and Morrison are going to retain. I think they're going to have, I don't know how lengthy of a title reign, but I think they're going to hold on to the championships going into WrestleMania. So that is my preview and predictions for the Elimination Chamber, and that's going to do it for news and rumors for the week. So right now, I am going to throw it over to Charlie G, and this is your Indie Cut.
Thank you, Tom, and hey there, wrestling friends. I am Charlie G with your Indie Cut. It was a busy weekend in the action, so let's get to it with the Black Label Pro Quantum Leap show from the 29th. Violence is Forever with Dominic Garrini and Kevin Koo defeated Rush Hour, Lee Moriarty and Wheeler Yuta. It was a solid match with Garrini hitting a pile driver for the win. Then there was Isaias Velasquez defeating Benjamin Carter. This was really to put over a newcomer. Isaias won that one easily. In a no disqualification tag team match, the team of Corned Beef, one called Manders and Big Beef, defeated Beer Country, Beer Boulder, and Beer Bronson. This is a hard-hitting house match with Manders landing a side slam on Beer Beefcake. Then Ren Narita defeated Aaron Williams. Looks like Narita is still on his USA tour, and he won by arm submission in a nice match. Then for the Black Label Pro Heavyweight title, Eric Stevens retained against Josh Alexander of the North. This was a great match between the two, with Stevens hitting a Sarasota screwdriver and Northern Lights bomb. Then there was the Black Label Pro Tag Team title match with Danhausen and Ethan Page, the champions, defeating Alley Cat and Dan the Dad. This was a fun, cool match. I really didn't think Page and Danhausen could pull off being a tag team, but they really do. Then in a six-way scramble match, Kobe Durst defeated Braden Lee, Gary J, and Jonathan Wolf. Joshua Bishop and Leva Everett. This was a quick match for a six-way scramble with Durst pinning Joshua Bishop after a top rope move. I missed it, so that's all I know. Then in the Black Label Pro Midwest title match, Kylie Ray defeated champion AJ Gray. This is a good back and forth match with some fun segments. Kylie won hitting 3 super kicks. So yet another title for Kylie Ray. Congratulations. In the IWTV Independent Wrestling title match, Warhorse versus Effie was a no contest. Where the referee screwed up, so they both screwed up the 3 count, and they both went after him. After a big elbow drop from Warhorse, they both ruled ass, with Warhorse hitting a double stomp on the ref. This was an interesting match between the two. Both get along rather well. They're both pretty independently booked all over the place, so it was good to see. At the end of the match, Danhausen came out to hug his friend Warhorse and tell him about his match during Mania weekend. It will be Danhausen tagging with Effie and Gangrel, of all people, and they will face none other than his buddy Warhorse with 2 partners of his choosing. This shocked Warhorse, and as his friend and tag partner wanted to face him. He said he would pick his partners on Wednesday, and be careful what you ask for. And boy, did he select the team. None other than Big Con and Vic, otherwise known as Connor and Victor of the Ascension. This should be fun, and it will be during their midnight show Sunday during Mania weekend. I hope I can see it. Then there was a singles match between Jake Something defeating Chris Dickinson, and a hard-hitting match between these two, as you would expect. Tag team match of Alex Zane and Blake Christian defeating the Rascals, Desmond and Trey. This was an awesome match between all four. They're all high flyers and know their way around the ring. They had a sweet opening segment between Blake and Trey. This would be a match I'd like to see at Warrior or any other place on TV, because these four can go. Zane hit a 450 double knees, and Blake hit a twisting splash on Dez for the win. Black Label Pro put on another good show. Hopefully their next one is just as good. Now we move on to Shine 65, where the Shine Nova title was retained by Natalia Markova against Brandy Lauren by DQ. In the Shine Tag Title match, Jameson and Marty Bell retain against Avery Taylor and Brittany Blake. And in the Shine title match, Evilise retained against Lindsay Snow. This was a quick hour-and-a-half show featuring 7 matches. Not sure why it was so short, but this wasn't a good way to put over female talent, and they do have a lot of talent there. Next was Evolve 145. Yes, it was free on Facebook Live, but it's no longer available, which is pretty lame since it was free. Why take it down? In some good matches, Jake Atlas defeated Stephen Wolf. Colby Carino defeated Joe Gacy. Brandon Loren defeated Avery Taylor. In the Evolve title and Goals match, Josh Briggs defeated Anthony Green, which had to be a good one. In the Evolve Tag Team No. 1 contendership match, A.R. Fox and Leon Ruff went against the skulk of Adrian Alanis and Liam Gray for a double pin. So I guess there was no real winner since all 4 are of the same grouping. So my guess will all 4 will be in the contenders match next show. And then in a singles match, Mansoor defeated Kurt Stallion. So he was back. He was in the United States for a change. Now let's head to Beyond Championship Wrestling. I forgot what it was called. From March the 1st. To open the show, Swaggle is the BCW general manager, so that will be interesting and put some legitimacy to their show. In the BCW heavyweight title tournament, Robo defeated Mike Verna and Richard Howday defeated Anthony Bowens. In a body slam challenge, 6-man challenge, the Buffalo Brothers of Daniel Garcia, Kevin Blackwood, and Puff defeated Whatever It Takes of Alex Reynolds, Mark Sterling, and VSK. Retro Anthony Green defeated Bull James. Yes, Bull James is still wrestling. For control of the USB hard drive match, Christian Casanova defeated and Hackman was another double pin. So no one really won. A lot of that going on this weekend, it looked like. In the BCW heavyweight title tournament final, Richard Holiday defeated Robo. And after the match, Holiday threw down the title. So I guess there's no champion at this time. And for control of the company match, Jay Freddy with Denver, Colorado, who is the owner, defeated Brandon Thurston in what I think was a good match. A lot of craziness with this whole show. I really got lost, and I wanted to enjoy my Sunday. So in the main event, John Silver defeated Tony Deppen in what was a very good match between these two. Glad to see Silver won and on a show wrestling for a change and not in a mask. In the Glory Pro 3rd anniversary show on March 1st also, Kylie Ray defeated Blair Onyx. In a tag match, Alley Cat and Dan the Dad defeated Danhausen, Elena Black. Jake Lander defeated Ethan Price. In the United Glory title 4-way match, the team of Hala Beefcake with Idris Abraham and Joe Coleman defeated the Regal twins, Logan Regal and Sterling Regal. Alpha Omega, consisting of Camaro Jackson and Kenny Alfonso. And the 4-star heroes, Chris Castro and Matt Nix of Pro Wrestling Tees fame. In a Falls Count Anywhere match, Kevin Lee Davidson defeated Nick Gage. That had to be a brutal match between these two. And the Besties in the World, Davey Vega and Matt Fitchett, defeated the Gym Nasty Boys of Timmy Lou Redden and White Mike. Boy, these names get crazier and crazier. In the Midwest Territory match, Cody Lane defeated champion Hakeem Zayn by DQ, so no new champion there. And in the Crown of Glory title match, AJ Gray defeated Chris Dickinson. It had to be a nice show for Glory Pro. In Evolve 146, Avery Taylor and Natalia Markova defeated the in-crowd of Brandy Lauren and Jesse Kamea. Mansoor defeated Anthony Green. That's a little odd to me. Looks like Mansoor could win even in the United States, winning both his matches that weekend. In a relaxed rules match, Joe Gacy defeated Colby Carino. In a 3-way match, Drake defeated Kurt Stallion and Jake Atlas. And in a non-title match, AR Fox defeated champion Josh Briggs. It was a busy afternoon and night those 2 days, and it sounded like a nice show altogether. Now for some overseas news. Tokyo Yoshi Pro did put on an empty arena event called TJP Spring Break Beautiful One-Day Tournament. It consisted of 16 wrestlers and a 5-minute match time limit, so this was a quick one. I'll just start with the semifinal participants. Mayu Watanabe and Soka Nakajima went to a time limit draw, and it looked like it was a first pinfall wins with Soka Nakajima defeating Mayu. In the other semifinal match was Yuka Ono defeated Mina Shirakawa. And in the finals, which was for 10 minutes long, Soka Nakajima defeated Yuka Ono. I was able to see that match after the AEW event, so at least I got to see one match. In Rev Pro Live at the Cockpit 50, Dan Maloney defeated Clark Connors. The Bullet Club, consisting of Al Phantasmo and Hideko, defeated my buddy Carlos Romo and Damian Dunn. In a 6-man tag match, More Than Hype with Darren Kearney, LJ Cleary, and Nathan Martin defeated Michael Oku, Ricky Knight Jr., and Robbie X. In a non-title match, the Legion of Rampage Brown and the Great O'Karn defeated Kyle Fletcher and Shoto Uno. In the SWE World Heavyweight title match, David Starr retained against Shane Custom. And in the main event, it was Eddie Kingston defeating Mad Kurt. Now back to the States and home for Freelance Lucky Punks on March the 6th from a sold-out Logan Square Auditorium here in Chicago. We had Isaiah Velasquez with Dean Jacobs defeating Danhausen. It's always a funny match with Danhausen, and Isaiah is a good wrestler who seems he could be on any regular TV show soon. He won hitting a super kick from a distracted Danhausen, who was busy getting his teeth and what have you, trying to get against Dean. Then it was Elena Black and Jesus Bryce defeating Acid Jads and Laney Luck, with Black hitting Luck with a chair for an easy win after Luck was being distracted by Jazz hitting a Spanish fly off the top turnbuckle with Bryce onto his followers below. Cool move and a silly way to end the match, but it was a nice match nonetheless. For the Freelance World Tag Team Title Gauntlet match, we had Davey Bang and Misa Kate were chosen by the North from their seminar the day before. The Philly Marino Experience with Marino T and Philly C The Space Pirates, saying Saber and Space Monkey, who looked to still be injured, but was moving a little bit better. And the 4-Star Heroes, Chris Castro and Matt Nix, and the Take It Home wreckers of Bucky Collins and Mikey. It started off with Bang and Kate eliminating the Philly Marino Experience, with Davey landing a huge frog splash on Philly C. Then the Space Pirates eliminated Bang and Kate, with the Pirates sharing their tail whip drop on Davey. The Space Pirates then eliminated the 4-Star Heroes, with Saber rolling up Nix, though Space Monkey was technically the legal man in the ring. And then the Take It Home Wreckers eliminated the Space Pirates as Bucky pinned Saber after Darren Corbin illegally came in and hit a ginger snap move for a win, becoming the new freelance tag champions. Oh well, I'm sure it's because Space Monkey's a little injured and can't defend any more than they can. Now for the IWTV Independent Wrestling title match, which turned into a 4-way match, as Colt Cabana made a surprise appearance to take on Warhorse, and I think his 30th defense, Alex Zane and Kobe Durst. All 4 great wrestlers. I was happy to see this match. Maybe it will be on Dark one day. Colt said if he is still independent with a nice national contract and with AEW, and if he won, he would try to defend it at AEW shows. I doubt that happened, but it would be nice to see. This was an awesome match, with Warhorse hitting a splash on all 3 men in the corner. Zane fell to the mat where Warhorse bulldog Cabana onto him, and then a suplex with Durst onto the 2 men. Then an elbow drop on all 3, making all 3 spread apart, and then Warhorse put a sharpshooter on Zane for the win, retaining his title and keeping his impressive title winning streak alive. Great match, like I said. Hope more from all 4 of these guys down the line. Now for the Freelance Legacy title, Effie retained against Mark Wheeler, even though Wheeler jumped the bell, sneak attacking Effie while the lights were out and playing his song. It was a hard-fought battle, with Effie pulling off a sunset flip to retain his title. I don't blame this move. It was pretty nice, since it flowed. It was a good match. For the Freelance Legacy title #1 contender, 6-way scramble match with GPA, Eric Cannon, Dan the Dad, Darren Corbin, Gary J, and Kenny Sutra, with GPA hitting a quick roll-up on Dan the Dad, pulling his shorts for the win. Kind of a slow, gimmicky match for a scramble, and a sloppy way of winning. Now, the next up was the Freelance World title #1 contender match, with Craig Mitchell versus Robert Anthony, with Frank the Ass Clown. This was a rough battle between the 2, dating back 5 years ago, so they had heat on each other since then. This went in and out of the ring, with Craig Mitchell hitting a bridging German suplex, and somehow both being countered for the pinfall. At the end of the match, both said they both faced Kylie Ray at their next show, which I believe I heard on April 10th. I'm not sure, but I will let you know nonetheless. I don't get why both counted for the pin and get the chance for the title, but hey, it's Freelance all. This was another solid match by Freelance, and can't wait for the next one. That's a wrap for me till next week, where I will recap a busy weekend of indie action from EVE Women Behaving Badly, which is on as I speak, AAA Wrestling from Cancun, Rev Pro doing a 3-show weekend, WXW 24 Karat Gold weekend, which has started, but I will wait till next week to give the full results. Stardom, the No People Gate, which is actually free on YouTube, hopefully by the time everyone listens to this, on March the 8th, so maybe look it up. And Tokyo Yoshi Pro doing a Shuffle Unit Battle by Color tournament, which sounds interesting. And I don't think it's free, but I know both of those will be empty arena shows, so who knows how that will turn out. And anything else that pops up along the way. Thank you for watching and listening. Hope you enjoyed the cut. Happy wrestling, everyone, and back to you, Tom.
All right, thank you, Charlie, for that as always. Hope everybody is enjoying the indie cut every week. I know Charlie is working hard on it. He's making some great contributions to the show, and I definitely appreciate everything that he's doing as far as the indie cut and doing commentary with me when we go to the Warrior Wrestling shows. And I just am very grateful that he has agreed to be a part of the show. And still no word on when Warrior Wrestling 9 is. They did put up a post, I think it was yesterday, to stay tuned for information on Warrior 9, so I would assume that'll be coming out very, very soon, so keep an eye on their Twitter and all their other social media for that, because, for my money, the best independent company in wrestling right now is Warrior Wrestling, so definitely give them a follow and keep an eye out, and if you can make it to one of their events, definitely do. So let's move into the next segment of the show here, where I basically call out the assholes of the internet wrestling community, and I am talking about the Troll of the Week. Alright, so this week's Troll of the Week, or Trolls of the Week, it's a group of people, is anybody who seems to have an issue with Jake the Snake Roberts being a part of AEW. I mean, when he came out, and this is, it's diehard WWE fans who refuse to even acknowledge anything else is good, basically is what it is. They live to shit on everything, is basically what it is. And, they come out, start making comparisons about, AEW fans complain about Goldberg being the Universal Champion, but go crazy for Jake the Snake Roberts coming out in AEW. Well, it's a bit different, okay? First of all, Jake Roberts is not going to get an AEW World title shot. Okay, it's just not going to happen. He's not going to wrestle. He's a manager, just like Arn Anderson, just like Tully Blanchard. I keep seeing people talking about, AEW's bringing in so many of these old-timers and this and that. Well, yeah, they are, as managers and coaches and producers and people who can contribute creatively. I mean, Jake the Snake Roberts, one of the best wrestling psychology guys ever, possibly the best. So that is a huge, huge thing for AEW to get him as part of the company. And anybody who can't see that, honestly, you're not a wrestling fan. If you don't think Jake the Snake Roberts can make a contribution both creatively behind the scenes and on screen still as a manager or a coach or whatever you want to call it, then you know nothing about wrestling and you know nothing about Jake the Snake Roberts. So, that's pretty much that. I mean, to even make the comparison between Jake the Snake and Goldberg is completely ludicrous and just ignorant. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's just, it's these people who hate watch, basically is what it is, and just the very concept of that is ridiculous to me. You're paying attention to something just so that you can complain about it, or so that you can, point out what you perceive to be the negatives about it. I'm sorry, you need more joy in your life. You really, really do. But anyway, moving on to the next topic here. One of my favorites, and I am talking about the part where I get to just kind of play armchair quarterback, if you will, or armchair arm dragger, as Edge and Christian used to say on their podcast. And I'm talking about the fantasy booker. This week's fantasy booker is for all you guys who love high-flying and just death-defying type of wrestling, people who are big fans of both Japanese and Mexican style wrestling. These are two guys who, one in particular became just a huge favorite of mine from seeing his appearances in ECW back in the day. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, passed away not that long ago. I'm talking about Hayabusa from Japan, and the person that I would love to see him get in the ring with, just to see what these guys could do with each other, is Bandito from Ring of Honor. If you're familiar with Hayabusa, if you're not familiar with Hayabusa, go back and watch ECW's very first pay-per-view. He has a tag team match on there, and the guy is insane. He could do literally anything in the ring, and just one of the best high flyers you're ever going to see. And Bandito is very much in the same vein as Hayabusa, and just to see these two guys be able to hook it up would be, I mean, that's just a 5-star match waiting to happen, to use a Meltzer reference there. But yeah, so probably my two favorite masked wrestlers of all time, Hayabusa and Bandito. So yeah, go, like I said, look up some of Hayabusa's stuff, watch some of Bandito's matches from Ring of Honor, and wherever else you can find them. He had a great match at All In. Yeah, Hayabusa versus Bandito. Look both of them up and think about the things that these two guys could do in the ring together. It's mind-blowing just to even think about it. I mean, it'll never happen, obviously. Hayabusa, like I said, passed away, and prior to that he had retired because of a very, very serious injury that actually left him paralyzed. So, this is one, that will forever be just a fantasy. So, but yeah, look both of these guys up if you're not familiar with them. Look at the things that they can do in the ring, and then just let your imagination run wild if they could get in the ring together. So that's gonna do it for the Fantasy Booker, and moving into the last segment of the show, given my kind of maybe not so popular opinion, or not an opinion that's held by a majority of people, and I am talking about the weekly hot take. Alright, so my hot take for this week is concerning AEW, and the fact that we have a lot of factions in AEW. Now, I've seen a number of people online who have an issue with this. Oh, why does there have to be so many factions and this and that? Well, they're kind of using almost the same philosophy as New Japan. If you follow New Japan Pro Wrestling, everybody's part of a group. It's either Chaos or Bullet Club or LIJ or whatever else there is. But everybody's part of a group, and it seems like AEW's kind of using that same model, maybe not to the extreme that New Japan does. I mean, not every single person in AEW is in a faction, but you've got the Elite, you've got the Inner Circle, you've got the Dark Order, and who knows what other ones we might see. But I am a fan of it. I mean, that's one of the things I like about New Japan, is you do have different groups, so that you see different combinations of guys, either as teammates or as opponents. So it can, create for some very interesting matchups. So that, it's something that, and it's not something you've seen in American wrestling before. So it's definitely, I'm not going to say original, because obviously they're borrowing the idea from somewhere else, but it's original to an American audience. So, people who complain about it, well, you know what, then keep watching the same old thing that doesn't change, and leave the, the new, different, creative type stuff to the people that want to see it. That's pretty much all I can say about that one. So that's gonna pretty much do it for this week. I want to thank everybody again, as always, for watching, listening, and subscribing on YouTube, Spotify, any place you find your podcasts. And yeah, again, like I said, there's no video this week because I wanted to get the show out as quickly as possible, because I am recording it a little bit later than usual. But yeah. Like always, thank you for checking the show out. Last week's episode was actually my top downloaded episode for 1 week ever. So thank you guys so much for everybody that is interested in what I have to say. It's really awesome, and I appreciate every single person who who downloads and listens or watches on YouTube, everything else. It really is cool to look at the stats and see you know, how many people are listening and where people are listening from. I mean, just the number of countries that people are downloading the show is unbelievable, and it's the thought that people are tuning in to hear my opinions on pro wrestling is it's really cool, and it's very humbling, and I appreciate every single person who checks out the show. I really do. So and again, make sure you're following on all social media platforms. You can find the show at CatchHookShoot. If you ever want to send an email, it's catchhookshoot@gmail.com, patreon.com/catchhookshoot for bonus content, and prowrestlingtees.com /catchhookshoot for all your t-shirt needs. Gonna switch up some of the designs, I think, in the next couple of weeks, so keep an eye out there for some new shirts coming out. And I'm gonna leave you guys as I always do. I'm gonna say, for everybody out there, keep the people that you love, the people that are important to you, close. Let them know, show them how important they are and what they mean to you, because you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. And as JR says, our tomorrows are not guaranteed. So forgive, move on. Just remember what's important, because a lot of times the stuff that people want to argue and fight about, really not that important, guys. It's okay to just let it go. It's okay to say, you know what, this isn't that important. I don't need to win every argument, and I can just take a breath and say, okay, you're right. I'm sorry. Let's move on. Don't have such a big ego that you never want to apologize or move past some minuscule problems that might be going on. So with that, again, thank you to everybody for watching and listening, and I hope everybody has a great week. Enjoy the Elimination Chamber tonight, and I will talk to you guys soon.